Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Module 2. This is our very first executive function number 1, which is impulse control. So in this presentation, we are going to talk about what positive impulse control looks like, what your impulse control, that executive function looks like when it's going well and functioning more or less correctly. We're going to talk about the 2 variations of poor impulse control, because believe it or not, poor impulse control is not just impulsivity. So we will get to that a little bit later on. And how to cope with executive dysfunction in this area, because I think it's really important once you understand which areas of executive functioning you're struggling with to know what in the world you're supposed to actually do about them. So let's hop on into it. What does impulse control look like when it is going well? Well, it looks like a healthy balance. Healthy impulse control looks like feeling in control of your decisions. That means that you don't feel like you have to rely on someone else, or you have to rely on fate, or you have to rely on any outside source to make decisions for you. You feel like you are allowed to make active decisions in your life. Healthy balance in impulse control also looks like treating your impulses like visitors that you can either welcome or refuse. So this means when an impulse enters your head, you don't act on it right away and you don't send it away right away. What you do is you listen to it and you say like, okay, is this something I'm actually interested in right now? Is this something I want to act on right now? And you consider and weigh your options, and you can take your time doing that. Another key aspect of healthy impulse control is having little to no regret after making a decision. Now, this isn't to say if you've ever had regrets that you have poor impulse control. We're human beings. Human beings are always going to have a certain amount of regrets because we can't make perfect decisions no matter how hard we try. And poor impulse control is actually often because of trying to make the perfect decision all the time or completely giving up on making any good decisions ever. So let's hop on into that now that we have sort of a view of what healthy impulse control can look like. Let's go ahead and there we go. Hop on over. Sorry about that, poor impulse control. What does this look like? There are actually 2 variations of poor impulse control that I want to talk to you about today, and that is excessive impulsivity and excessive inhibition. So excessive impulsivity often looks like acting on your impulses as soon as they enter your head without time to pause or think. And excessive inhibition often looks like suppressing your impulses as soon as they enter your head without time to pause or think. So as you can see, these 2 have a lot in common. Basically, as soon as an impulse enters your head, you have a gut reaction. You either act on it right away or you suppress it right away. Both of these are considered executive dysfunction. And both impulsivity and inhibition rely on a lack of self-trust. It relies on you not thinking that you are capable of making an active decision, and instead you rely on a non-thinking solution, a solution that takes you out of the equation entirely. So what happens when you have excessive impulsivity is an idea enters your head and you don't feel capable of saying no. Your impulses feel like forces of nature that just take hold, and you feel like you don't have the ability to say yes or no or anything. It's almost like your impulses take over without your consent. And that's honestly can feel really violating and really upsetting. So I think a lot of times in our culture, we view impulsivity as childish and stuff like that. And I just want to make it very clear that that is not at all the take that I have. I think impulsivity can be really painful and really hard to deal with, although we will get to that in just a moment. And I just want to make it super clear that if you do struggle with impulsivity, it's not childish at all. It comes from a very deep lack of self-trust that we absolutely can improve on, and it can get better. On the other hand, excessive inhibition is actually something I tend to struggle with. And it's pretty much the same idea. An impulse enters your head and you don't have consent. You don't decide yes or no or think it through in any like logical manner. Instead, you just shut that down, because all impulses feel unsafe with you. Because if it's an impulse, if it came out of nowhere, if it wasn't a carefully constructed thought, then it cannot be trusted, because you cannot be trusted. And that's a really deep message that a lot of us received in childhood, that needs to be worked through in order to really improve. And I think that's a huge key to dealing with executive dysfunction overall, is making sure we recognize these emotional barriers that can also be a part of executive dysfunction. So how can we cope? How can we cope with this? So important. These are the two strategies that I really rely on and really enjoy. First of all, make a list of safe, impulsive decisions for when you get that itch. Whether you tend to be impulsive or inhibited, a lot of people who struggle with impulse control get a feeling of, I've got to do something right now. So for me, my safe, impulsive thing to do is dyeing my hair. I dye my hair every 2 to 3 months minimum. And it's just a really safe way for me to get that feeling out. So make a list of things that are safe for you to do that won't completely disrupt your life, but will still give you that feeling of freshness and newness. The second way you can cope with impulse control issues is by making one small decision about your life every single day. And this is actually going to help with a lot of categories of executive dysfunction, because it improves self-trust. As you make these small decisions about your life every single day, and I'm talking super small, like my decision today was I decided to go to Walmart to get iced coffee for the fridge. And that was just one of those things I decided on my own. I didn't ask anyone's permission. I didn't ask what anybody else thought about it. I didn't consider how it would affect anyone else. This was just a choice for me, for my life. And so making those small decisions and then watching and paying attention when the world doesn't collapse, you can pay attention and realize I'm allowed to make decisions about my life without ruining my life. I can trust myself. And that's really important and really powerful. So these are my top 2 ways to cope with impulse control issues. So the homework for this week is to fill out the week 2 worksheet, which is available in the Thinkific portal. And thank you so much for watching.